Welcome into another edition of the AHSAA Podcast. I'm your host, Caleb Brooks, soon to be joined by some members of the Oxford High School baseball team, Sam Robertson and Carter Johnson, as they join me and talk about their first-round win over Gardendale. Sam he had 6 hits last week, had a home run. He had the game-winning hit and a 1-0 win in Game 2 over Gardendale. And in that 1-0 game, Carter threw a no-hitter against Gardendale, and they defeated them 1-0 after beating them 13-3 in Game 1. I can tell you as a baseball player, it's not easy to go 10-run rule somebody or beat someone the way they did in Game 1 and turn around in Game 2 and have the same edge and the same focus and the same intensity. And, you can tell, obviously it was a tight game. It was a tough game, but Oxford able to find a way to get a win. And this is a group, I went and talked to them last summer. They got beat in the 3rd round last year, and they knew what they had coming back. And I've been keeping up with them all year. They only have 5 losses on the season. I think they're now 32-5 this year. Has had a fantastic year and has a tough matchup going up to Hazel Green this week for round number 2, but should be a lot of fun. And so I talked with both of them about their first round win, their round 2 matchup, and about the makeup of this team. And then I'm also going to be joined by Taylor Burt, head softball coach at Hewitt Trussville High School. Hewitt has won the last 2 7A state championships and right there at the top again this season, and has just been incredible what Coach Burt has built there. They were good before she got there. I think Kyle mentioned that a couple of weeks ago when he was on here. They were good, and that was already being built, but she's even taken it up another notch with what they've done winning championships. And they're right there at the top with a chance to win it again this year. I talked with her on a different show a couple of weeks ago, and we both kind of acknowledged, I think 7A is this the toughest year that we've seen in softball for 7A. I think you got 8-9 teams who legit could be holding up a blue map at the end. You're going to have your 3 or 4 who are really at the top, but you go, hey, those are the ones who probably should, but there's 8 or 9 that are very capable of, if they get hot at the right time, they win the right games, they get the right matchups, can win a state championship. And it's going to be a lot of fun to keep up with the AHSAA and especially 7A softball here in a couple of weeks at Choccolocco. And I'm looking forward to that week. It's going to be a great week with both baseball and softball being at Choccolocco Park that week. First time we'll ever have that. Both of those sports going on at the same location at the same time. I think you're going to have baseball players that come down and watch softball players that come up and watch baseball. You'll have games 2 and 3 going on over at Jacksonville State University at their new park that's just gorgeous. I think that it's a win for both baseball and softball that they've moved into that area. And we're seeing parks get built left and right. Albertville has a fantastic perfect game place up there. Hoover has one that they built, and it's a lot of fun to see a lot of these places that have really invested in the sports of baseball and softball, and with these travel tournaments that they host, and now the ability to host events like we're seeing them host with the AHSAA. So I'm going to get you over to those interviews. I'm joined by Sam Robertson and Carter Johnson from Oxford High School, and Taylor Burt, head softball coach at Hewitt Trussville High School. I want to welcome in my next guests here on the AHSAA podcast, 2 members there of the Oxford baseball team, and just a fantastic win for you guys this past week. Sam Robertson coming in, and then also Carter Johnson. Carter, you threw a no-hitter in Game 2. Big win for you guys, much needed, a 1-0 win, having the no-hitter. And then Sam, for you, man, 6 hits on the day, a home run, the game-winning hit there in Game 2. Just 2 great performances for you guys, and much needed against a really good baseball program there in Gardendale High School. And, getting to play at home, first round of the playoffs, it's nothing new to you guys, but just kind of describe to me what it was like this past Friday, getting to play that home playoff game and being back in the postseason where you guys have been working for since the 3rd round this past year.
Playing on our home field means a lot. Having our home stand, like our fans there supporting us, it means a lot. You just feel like home, and I feel like you play a lot better when you're home.
When you look at the place that you guys get to play at, everybody's kind of working to get to y'all's home stadium now to play in the state championship. And for you guys, how does that make y'all feel, like knowing that, hey, for y'all, if y'all can get there, it's a home game for Oxford High School if you guys can get into the state championship there, especially for that first game?
I feel like it's going to be huge for us. We'll be at our home stadium, home fans, and everything's just going to be more comfortable, honestly.
When you look at Choccolocco Park, obviously that place was built a couple of years ago. It's been a great venue for Jacksonville State baseball, for you guys hosting travel tournaments. What has that place kind of done for you guys as players, especially kind of putting pride into, having something to be proud of, a home place that is super nice like that? And just, since y'all have moved over to Choccolocco, just how fun has it been to play in that venue and call that place home?
Yeah, I mean, we have one of the nicest high school fields in America, absolutely. And being able to call that home is a big deal. I mean, not a lot of high school players get to play on that type of field. And whenever we have teams come in, they're always like, "Is this y'all's home field?" And they're they're amazed that that's the type of field that we play on all year long. So it helps. It's a big difference.
Sam, kind of tell me what kind of zone that you were in Friday. When you get 6 hits on the day, you hit a home run, you had the type of success that you had at the plate. Just what was really working for you, and what made you be able to see the ball as well and be as comfortable in the box as you were?
Coach Brown, our hitting coach, he came up with a great scouting report for us. I mean, I knew exactly what they had. I worked it throughout the whole week of practice. He just prepared us well. And when I got on the field, that whole week of practice just showed out on the field, and it helped.
You guys won the first game 13-3, and then you bounced back in the next game's obviously a dogfight. And Carter, for you, you're sitting there kind of stuck in the middle of this dogfight and sitting there throwing a no-hitter, and you have all this going on. And what was that like for you? Like, you know that you're throwing a no-hitter out there, but yet y'all haven't scored any runs, and you're probably sitting there wondering, like, am I going to be able to complete this game? Or are we going to be going to extras? Just kind of what was that like to be in the middle of all that in game 2 there?
I mean, it was a great experience, and honestly, I wouldn't be able to do without the great defense I had behind me, my catchers and stuff. So, and it was just a great feeling, honestly. And that atmosphere is crazy.
What was the toughest part of, you win a game by 10-run rule and 13-3, and you dominate a team in game 1. What is kind of the toughest part of bouncing back for game 2 and trying to mentally get prepared to, take on a new game and to try to block out what you guys were able to accomplish in game 1?
I think the toughest thing would be probably just to keep that momentum going and keep the bats rolling to the second game. And their pitcher was pretty good, so we just kind of had to push through it, and eventually we got that one run.
What was working for you? I mean, to be able to throw a no-hitter like that, I mean, how were you able to keep them off balanced, and what were some of the key things for you on the mound on Friday night?
A couple big things were first pitch strikes for me, and just being able to throw all my pitches for strikes and pretty much where I wanted.
As I mentioned, you guys have been kind of working for this time of year, the playoffs, the postseason, being back at this point since the 3rd round last year. Just kind of describe to me the motivation that this team has going back into this postseason, coming off of last year, where you guys feel like y'all could have made it further, and y'all feel like, y'all were good enough to hold up a blue map at the end of the year last year as well.
We've been working for this since December every day. I mean, it's just been daily. I mean, we know what we want to achieve for this year. I mean, our effort's been there the whole year. Our process. I mean, we know what type of team we have, that we have the potential to win it all, and that's what gets us up every morning, is what our overall goal is. And we have 2 practices a day. We wake up, work out, watch film in the mornings, hit in the mornings, and then in the afternoon after school, we come back on the field, work on anything that we need to work on, and just get ready for that practice or that Friday night. So, I mean, it's always a grind.
Mm-hmm.
People that are watching this on video can see right behind you guys, there's a picture of the 2012 state championship team. And how often do y'all look at that group and kind of try to mimic that group, like try to just be like them and say, hey, we want to do what that group 10 years ago did around here?
We look back at it and just think we want to carry on that legacy that they brought down and just keep pushing that through all the younger people and just make Oxford great.
Last year's group for you guys was a very young team, a lot of sophomores on the team and a lot of young guys. All the experience that you guys had coming back this year, where have y'all really seen that pay off the most for y'all?
I mean, having all those guys back is really just experience for us. I mean, we've had guys that's done that before. I mean, we got a sophomore and a junior. I mean, it just means a lot because in those hard playoff games, like third game, I mean, it's just hard for a young guy that hadn't done that before to come out there and do what he's done best. And experience is really a big thing for us. Having a lot of guys back, older guys, and we know we have to do to win. So,
where do y'all, in y'all's opinion, for both of y'all, where do y'all think the biggest difference is between last year's team and this year's team? Like, where do y'all feel like y'all have maybe improved the most from last year to this year?
probably experience for us. I mean, it's really just a bunch of guys last year. It was our first time playing at that varsity level and playing in the playoff because our freshman year was COVID year. We didn't get to experience that playoff run, and last year was our first time experiencing that. So I mean, this is a huge difference. Being able to do that last year and then coming back again. I mean, we know what we have to prepare for.
I'll have to agree with Sam on that.
I was asking you, Carter, you kind of feel the same way?
Yes, sir. I feel the same way because, like, I feel like just the more experience you have, you just know what to do in situations. And, like, I feel like on Friday we just came out hot and we weren't slow or anything. So we just kind of got on them quick.
Yeah, I mean, Sam, you said it. Y'all had COVID your freshman year. Last year was, y'all's first really experience as a whole group of getting playoff ball, that type of stuff. And for how much more comfortable were y'all as a team just going into Friday night? Like, could you look around and just tell, like, okay, yeah, we have been here before. This group kind of knows what to expect. And, like, could you just see a bigger comfort level from your group on Friday night?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everybody on the team was more comfortable. I mean, it's just a whole difference maker when, like, the older you get, the more comfortable you get in those situations. And you could just tell in everybody's eyes that they're ready for that moment.
Kind of explain to me the difference just between, even in an area game, a big area game, and then what it was like for, playoff game, playoff series. You kind of know what's on the line. Just what is kind of the difference in the atmospheres and the intensity that you have in those type of games?
Actually, the main difference would be, this could either keep us going or end the season. But I do feel like those area games kind of helped some of the younger guys be ready for that atmosphere during the playoff game.
Looking at the second round matchup for you guys, having to travel on the road, go up to Hazel Green. You guys have been on the road before in the playoffs. You kind of know what to expect. What's kind of the biggest difference in going on the road compared to playing at home when you're going to someone else's place, their students are there, and you have a different type of atmosphere at a road game?
We're obviously used to playing at Chocolaca because it's one of the nicest fields. But, their field's great. Going up there, we got to know what we have to do to win the game. We just can't get off our mindset. We just have to play the game like we're used to playing and not let the field and the fans and the home and the away get in the way of our just playing baseball.
Carter, what's going to be your big key? You come off of a no-hitter now this week, and how do you kind of block that out and just get focused on the next game and not worry about, the big accomplishment that you had this past week?
I'm just going to try to keep it pitch by pitch and just try to win every pitch possible. And, just like you said, just block out what happened last week. That's over with. That's in the past. So we just got to look, focus on the present moment and just play pitch by pitch.
Is there any kind of pressure that is on this team at all? Knowing the experience you guys had coming back, the goal that you guys kind of set out for yourselves, about a year ago this time, is there any kind of pressure to deliver for this community and to deliver for this school right now?
Yeah. Back when we first started, right after Christmas break, we set high standards for ourselves. We knew where we wanted to be at the end of the year. And, yeah, there's pressure on us because we know how good of a team that we have, and we don't want to waste that talent. So I mean, every day we come out wanting to win, and practicing like that's going to get us to the state championship.
5 losses on the season right now, and people talk about it all the time. Sometimes you need to lose to learn a little bit about yourselves. And what have y'all been able to learn about yourselves in those 5 losses? And where do y'all feel like y'all been able to improve from those games?
Honestly, I feel like one big thing that we learned from our losses is that you can't be dead in the dugout. I feel like you just have to, no matter what your role is, you just got to help whoever's in front of you and keep the energy going.
Is that something that's kind of been something that y'all have had to focus on as a group this year of, maybe there are some times where the dugout's not as energized and people aren't as into it and kind of having to get people into the game? Or is it just those select few games where it's just like, hey, we just didn't have the energy and just didn't have the effort there today that we kind of feel like we needed?
I mean, we tell our younger guys that it just makes a whole lot of difference when, when we have the teammates in the dugout going out and we have the young guys like some Peyton and all them helping us through the game. I mean, it just makes you play a lot better when you have people supporting you in the dugout. I mean, when you're dead, you just don't play as good as you can, and especially playing harder teams, you need that backup that you feel. So, I mean, that's what helps us.
Sam, which hit did you enjoy more on Friday, the home run in game 1 or the game-winning hit that you had in game 2? Which one did you kind of enjoy more afterwards?
Definitely the game-winning hit. I mean, those moments are what you live for, and that's why you play baseball. I mean, getting that hit and getting our team that one run, and I mean, I knew Carter was going to go out there and shove. I mean, I just wanted to get one run for him so that he can just do his thing, and I'm just fortunate enough that moment came around and that I got to make the best out of it.
Carter, when y'all did get the one run, how much did it help you relax on the mound? Or did it help you relax any, or did it add any pressure to you?
I feel like it relieved some pressure, but I didn't relax any. I just wanted to be relentless and keep pushing through and keep playing pitch by pitch.
I mean, was the adrenaline pumping even more there in the bottom of the 7th inning as you're trying to close it out than it was at any point during the game?
Yes, sir. It probably was a little higher there at the end, knowing that, 3 outs and we're going to the second round of playoffs. And yeah.
Tell me about this matchup this week. What do y'all know about Hazel Green and about their group, and what do y'all feel like are going to be the keys for this team? What is this team going to have to really do well this week in order to get to round number 3 again this year?
Yeah, I mean, we know that they're a good team. Everybody's a good team when you're playing in the second round of 6A baseball. You just have to go out there and don't let anything get to you. Just play the game that you've been playing your whole life and really just have fun. Don't put any pressure on yourself. And if you play like that, then you have a better chance of an outcome.
Carter, going into Friday night now for you guys, we talked about you coming off your performance and things like that. What do you have to, when you are trying to get over that and you are trying to focus on the next game, you're looking at the next team and stuff, obviously there's going to be things that work for you this past Friday that may not work as well this coming Friday and things like that. And so how do you have to adjust maybe mid-game when, maybe it was the fastball that was working really well and this week you don't have as much life, the curveball, just how tough is it to kind of make those adjustments coming off of a performance like you had this past week?
It might be a little tough, at the start of the game, knowing if I don't have a pitch that game. But honestly, if you just find what's working and just stick to it and just stick with your plan, then you'll be good. Just keeping on going pitch by pitch.
Guys, listen, I really, really appreciate you guys taking the time to join me. Congratulations to both of you guys on fantastic performances in the first round and, huge first round victory there over Gardendale. And good luck this week as you guys head up to Hazel Green, and should be a great matchup up there. And almost the highest point that you can get here in the state of Alabama. You guys will be going up there and trying to get a W and get back to round number 3. And really, really look forward to seeing how you guys finish this thing off here over the next couple of weeks. And hopefully we do see you guys right there at your home stadium playing for a state championship.
Sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Appreciate it, guys. Yep. Have a good one. I want to welcome in my next guest here on the AHSAA podcast, head softball coach at Hewitt Trussville High School, Coach Taylor Burt. And Coach, you and your team is really off to another great start. And now we're here getting towards the end of the year, and it's been a fantastic year for y'all again this year. Really now the fourth or fifth straight year of y'all being right here at the top of the state and being dominant here in the state. And, we talked about last year, you guys viewed yourselves as the defending champs. You ended up going and defending that title. You're now the two-time defending champs, looking to defend it again. And, we talked a couple of weeks ago on a different show that we do, and we kind of talked about 7A is a lot harder, I think, to win it this year than it has been the previous 2 years that you guys have won it. But that's also got to be a lot of fun for you guys, knowing that softball is getting better in this state and that the competition in this state is getting better year after year after year.
Yeah, definitely. I know when we talked earlier, I pretty much said it'll be a coin flip, and whoever's playing their best, come end of May. So I think it could really be anybody. There's been, a lot of back and forth between a lot of teams. So it'll be fun to watch. That's for sure. Definitely the most competitive it's been in a while.
A lot of these girls that were on this year's team, they weren't on the team the first year that won it. And so, they were on, a couple of them were on last year's team. And so they may feel but is there maybe not as much pressure on this group to defend the title because a lot of them, weren't a part of that a couple of years ago. And so you have a lot of new faces that are on this group.
Yeah, I think the pressure comes from themselves more than anything because they want to, they want to experience that. Just as bad as the girls before them did. And, several of the girls that are, getting a lot of playing time this year were on the team last year, didn't necessarily get a whole lot of playing time or have a whole lot of experience, but played a big role, in their own right. So I think that they, any kind of pressure probably comes more from them than anything, but, they're doing a good job of handling it, and they've been working hard. So we have a couple returners that were on both teams. So I think they've kind of been looking to Hannah and Kenley to kind of to lead the way a little bit in that right. So they're doing a good job.
When you look at you guys up there, your program, Spain Park's program, has built a fantastic rivalry with each other, a good competitive rivalry with each other where both of y'all get after each other. And everybody, when I see that you guys are playing, like I'm invested, I'm looking for the final. I'm looking, to see what went on, and y'all developed into that because of how good your programs are. Number one, just how fun is that to have something like that, to have another program that they're working for you, you're working to beat them. And you kind of push each other the way that y'all two have been able to do over the last couple of years.
Well, I think I severely underestimated that rivalry. I've been a part of several in my career, as a player and as a coach. And when I got here, that's one of the first things I had heard about, but, we weren't in the same area my first year here, so we didn't see them until the state tournament. And then every year after that, we've been in the same area. So, of course, it's always fun to have rivalry games. You have a lot of people come out and want to watch those games, and they're always interesting. I will say that. They are definitely always interesting and entertaining. So I look forward to them. The girls look forward to them, and they have fun with it. Sometimes it's probably made a little bit bigger deal than what you'd like for it to be, but it's always fun, and it's fun to compete. All of our girls know their girls, and a lot of them play together in the summer, so they kind of have fun with it. So
they were able to get a victory over you guys a couple of weeks ago. And what did you kind of learn about your team with how they've responded since then, and even just how they kind of handled how that game went? Because to me, like looking from the out, it just seemed like one of those games where things got away from you guys, and just a lot of stuff just happens in softball and baseball where an inning can get away from you. It kind of seems like that happened. But what did you learn about your group with how they've responded since then and the way they handled going through that?
Yeah, so we actually had a pretty rough week as a whole. We did not play well that in the 16-2 loss, and then at that point, by the end of that game, I think we just kind of had to laugh at it because it's just one of those days where it's just not your day. And thankfully it happened at that point in the season, and I think we needed it. We had won something like 25 straight, and it was a good wake-up call for us. Humbled us a little bit, and we went in and struggled throughout the weekend too, and pulled out some really close wins, and then took another loss to Fairhope. So we've learned a lot of resiliency in a very short amount of time. So they bounced back and had a really great week this past week and weekend. So, I think it really did us some good. I think we learned a lot from it. I think that, just overall, they're not used to losing a lot. And so to kind of, take a butt whooping for lack of their term there, it woke them up a little bit and said, hey, like, we can't be coasting through this, that we got to stay on it and keep working hard.
Tell me about the Fairhope matchup. Obviously, that's a rematch of the state championship from this past year. They have a great group that returned from that team that played for a state championship. And so what impressed you about them, and what were some similarities and some differences from last year's team to this year's team?
Well, I think we both started pitchers that we knew probably wouldn't be in that situation in the postseason. Even though their kid throws about 63, 64 miles an hour, she brings it in pretty good. But they have the best pitching in the state, like top to bottom, because they have 3 kids that can really just throw it. They don't lose a lot when they move from one to the next. I just think that overall it shows how competitive that, postseason is going to be, and how tough it's going to be, and how well you're going to have to play consistently. That game, that's kind of turned into a little bit of a rivalry game as well, because we've seen each other so much in the postseason the last couple of years. But I have a lot of respect for their program and their coaches. They're really tough. They're going to be right there in it at the end too. So hopefully with us, and we'll get to see them again. We didn't play our best. It was kind of ugly at times, but we competed. And so, I'm looking forward to how things go, if we come across them in the future.
What, in your mind, is the biggest difference between this year's team for you and last year's team that you had?
I think the biggest difference really is just, overall experience was definitely it to begin with. I mean, we graduated 8 kids last year, 6 everyday starters. So the whole first half, big chunk of our lineup, that had been there since they were freshmen, the majority of them. So I think this year it was just them gaining experience, and we had to learn to produce runs a little differently. We hit like almost 70 home runs last year, and we've hit several this year. I'll be honest, I didn't give them enough credit in that department, but we've had to get a little more creative and use small ball and use some speed. Be a little more particular, running bases, a little more aggressive in certain situations. So I think really overall, honestly, it's just how we play the game that's a little bit different, how we approach the game that's a little bit different. And we have seen, at any given time, we've seen 13 kids rotate on that field. So we don't have a set starting 9. A lot of it depends on who's playing well at the time, and a lot of kids have gotten a lot of experience. So I think that's the biggest difference, is because the last couple of years, our 9 have kind of been pretty well set with kids playing behind them. That hasn't been the case this year.
Can that be a good thing and a bad thing, that you don't have a set 9, a good thing in the sense of you've played 13 different players at various times, you have experience, You can go, 4 deep past your first 9 and all that, but can it be a bad thing in the sense of you don't have that set 9, and, going into the postseason, you don't really, you're going to be sitting there trying to put a lineup together and not really knowing who to put down in certain situations?
Well, I will say this is the most difficult time I've ever had as a coach, filling a lineup out every single ball game. It's been, because every kid in our program has worked so hard, and they've done everything I've asked them to do when I've asked them to do it. And so they've done everything right. That's the thing with this group, is they've all waited their turn. And now some of them are not getting as much of a turn as what they've earned. And that's tough. As a coach, it's just tough to have to choose one over the other. That just comes with coaching. But yes, I will say it's more difficult because, you've got to kind of figure out who has the hot hand and who has the hot bat at the time. And a lot of it comes with pitching matchups, who we think is going to be more successful against whatever top pitcher we're seeing at that moment, and who's pitching for us, because we have a couple pitchers who hit too. So there's a number of factors that go into it. So yeah, I would definitely say it's a little more difficult than just knowing what you got and riding with it. So I know it's more difficult on them too, but they've handled it really well.
Even though a lot of these girls they weren't on the field when you guys were playing in the postseason, they were in the dugout, they were a part of the team, they were with the group. How much can that, just having been there before, even though they weren't on the field and being the ones playing, just knowing what to expect, knowing what Chakalaka is like, knowing what the regionals are like, just how much can that help this group over the next couple of weeks?
Oh, I think it's a huge advantage. I mean, we go and play in that Oxford tournament every year before we even knew the state tournament was going to be there. Last year we were able to play in a championship game of the Oxford tournament against Helena and won in extra innings. And I think that, overall, just the experience of playing in a place and it not making it bigger than what it is makes a big difference. And that group's been there. They understand it. The environment was incredibly different last year than in 2019. Your whole town was there. It was packed and it was so much fun. So, I think that's something they'll still, of course, have jitters and nervousness that goes with it because they're the ones out there. But I think, they also will have the most experience of any kids, out there too. So I think it's definitely an advantage for us.
You said that the power that this team has showed you has maybe surprised you a little bit. Is there any other area that has surprised you with this group where they've maybe done better than you thought going into the season?
I don't think I would say the word surprised. We lost Tori Hyde, a pitcher last year, who kind of gave us a little bit of a difference when it came to our other two Sarahs, both are Sarahs. But really overall, Sarah Hyman kind of had to reinvent herself because her and Sarah Phillips were both very similar pitchers, and she came out and learned two new pitches, one specific, in the first couple of weeks, and because we needed double play balls, and that was what we needed because we have two of the best middle infielders in the state that get us out of a lot of innings. So she kind of took on the challenge and as a senior and reinvented herself a little bit. And I wouldn't say that that's surprising to me. I'm just really impressed with it that she said, hey, that's something that I really, we talked about it. She was like, I think I can do it. And so she did. And, of course, our other Sarah Phillips has just been dominant. That's not surprising. She's growing up. She's, a sophomore and just really, really understands herself, understands, her ability as a pitcher and her strengths. And she's done an incredible job. And with, we have a couple other pitchers that have helped us out, Kate and Zaylin and Olivia Faggard. So we're kind of always been a pitch by committee team. We have two that kind of stand out over the others right now. I think one's got 83 innings and one has 82.9 or something crazy like that. So it's been a lot of, sharing the load. So, they've really impressed me just with their attention to detail and being willing to do some different things that we've asked them to do. So I think that's probably one of the other things that stands out.
You just mentioned 4 or 5 names that have pitched for you guys this year. You talked about Fairhope having 3 girls that they can go to. And how different is that from when you were playing where, we've now developed a softball into the point where it's staff now and you have to have 3, 4 different girls. Whereas when you were playing, you had one pitcher that you kind of just relied on for the year and you threw them out there and said, all right, hopefully you're good today. And if you're not, then we're going to have to hit,
Yeah, it was me. I think I threw over 1,000 innings in high school.
Wow.
So, at the time we were throwing from 40 feet. So, it was a little bit different because you weren't getting hit as much. It was definitely a pitcher catcher game whenever I was coming through. But yeah, that's the biggest difference is hitters are so good now. They're making pitchers throw tons of pitches to earn an out. And so, those pitch numbers add up and that's tough. Throwing a 7-inning game, especially in the postseason, that's hard to do. So I think that's something that we've always had an advantage at because even in 18, 19, would have been 20 and 21. We've had 3 pitchers that have equally shared the load. I think last year our pitchers ended up 80, 81, 82 innings. So we've always said, hey, when it comes to postseason, you're not going to really be able to win with just one arm. So we've got to be able to learn to win with all of them. And we've done a really good job of that in the past, and they're doing a good job of it this year too. So I think gone are the days of, I guess, having one horse that takes you the whole way. So we're fortunate to have a couple different options there.
Do you think it's even more important? I feel like, and it's not, but I mean, at the 1A, 2A, 3A level, I feel like they're kind of still at the point where it's just kind of one pitcher for the most part because there's not as much depth there. Do you think it is more important at the 6A, 7A level to have multiple pitchers because that's what the other top programs are going to have? You kind of see, I don't know of any of the teams that are ranked in the top 10 that just have one girl that's going out there and throwing every inning for them right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I was a 2A kid, so I understand that level and what comes with it and the difficulties that come with that too. But I think definitely it's really important, at the 6A, 7A level, mainly because of the level of hitters 1 through 9. A lot of times, you expect 1 through 4 to kind of be strong, but I know we've had home runs from our 8-hole. We've had all kinds of different situations where you have to stay consistent. You can't let your guard down. Even 6, 7, 8, 9. You just can't. Not at this level. The hitters are good. Bats are insane. So I think it's really, really important to be successful. You gotta be able to stay focused all the way through, and it's really, really tough to do. I would say that a lot of people give high school ball a bad rep when it comes to the competitiveness, compared to travel ball, but we have some really, really good softball players, in the state of Alabama that compete at a very high level. And, I think should get more credit than what they do.
When trying to get your staff together, when trying to create the depth that you need at pitching and things like that, is it important to have, like you kind of talked about how both Sarahs were similar and how you wanted one of them to kind of be a little bit different? Is that something that's important, is finding differences to where you're not kind of just putting the same look out there? Because, like in baseball, you can go from a righty to a lefty and then bring in a righty that's throwing sidearm, and, you have these different arm angles. In softball, for the most part, it's kind of coming from the same point, but the ball's going to do different stuff. It's going to have different spin. And so is that one of the things you're looking for when trying to develop that depth, is looking for different looks that pitchers can give that can throw off lineups and kind of get them out of their rhythm?
Yeah, absolutely. That's by far one of the most important things that we can do is when we transition from one pitcher to the next, we want them to see, different speed, different eye level, different. If we have one that's working up and down or one that's working up, we would really like to have another one that works a lot of down or has a really good off speed, change up, drop, whatever. We try to, make sure all of our kids are a little bit different. That way, whether it be velocity or the top pitches that they throw. So that way, when we do transition from one to the other, it takes, the hitters a little bit of time to figure out and transition in that so that they can, understand what's going on when it comes to, the pitch and change. And it's difficult for us as hitters too, for our team as hitters, whenever, you have one that's mainly rise and screw, and then you have another kid come in that is, drop, curve, and change. That's a whole different adjustment period that you got to take. So it's definitely an advantage if you have, some different top pitchers that can feed off of each other and complement each other.
You said y'all had to find some different ways to score runs this year, play a little bit more small ball. Like when you say that, are you stealing more bases this year than you did last year? Are you bunting a lot more than you did last year? Like in what ways are you?
I would say we are definitely bunting a whole lot more. We, for the last couple of years, I would probably classify us as free swingers. Like we, get a runner on first and second, and 99% of the time we were not bunting the ball. And we still do that sometimes in certain situations. I got a lot of questions about that, and I'm just like, hey, we're not going to take, you have Jenna Lord up. I'm not asking Jenna Lord to bunt. I'm just not. Like, I'll take my chances on what she's going to do. So it's different. And the same thing with all of our kids in the past. So this year's a little bit different just because we want to make sure that we're pushing a couple across. We've kind of struggled to score runs at times. So, we just using it to our advantage, bunting the ball a lot more, using our squeeze plays a lot more. We just tried to keep everybody on their toes and it's a little bit different than what most have seen from us in the past, but it's been fun. I love the small ball. I love it. I think it's one of the most fun parts of the game.
And it's also got to make it, like you were talking about, it's been fun this year. Like, it's different, like you're not just kind of doing the same thing. Like you're actually making some decisions as a coach now, and you're, hey, should we bunt here? Should we steal here? And, just because of the fact that you're having to do that, are you finding yourself, not a knock like on what you were having to do the last couple of years, but are you just having to coach more this year because you're having to make those decisions more? Whereas last year you're in the third base box and it's just, hey, go up there and go hit some bombs and let's score some runs.
That's right. Don't get anybody thrown out at home. That was really my only goal last year. No, I'll be honest with you, in the last couple of years, I, try to set them on the path to success. A lot of what we worked on was the mental side more than the physical side. I just got out of their way and let them play when it came game time. That's really, I can take zero credit for any of their success when it comes to that, because they're just that good. I just said, hey, I'm not going to get in your way. I'm not going to try to do too much. Like, let's just go play softball and have fun. But this year, there's been a lot more involved in just understanding and coaching the little aspects of the game and making decisions throughout that, can make or break a game. So I've had a lot of fun every year, but definitely more decisions to be made this year, but fun ones and good ones. And, a lot of times that means that some of the fault falls your way, which every time you lose, it should. So, but it's been a lot of fun, and the girls are enjoying it. We have bunted more in practice this year than I think we ever have in the last 3 or 4 years combined. But they understand the importance of it, and they've bought into it and have done a really good job.
It's got to be impressive as a coach too, to you have this young group that's coming up, and they, like you mentioned, they've sat behind these other couple of groups and watched them and waited their turn, and they could have came up and said, no, we kind of do it. We want to try to do it the way they've done and gone up there and tried to be big swingers. And the fact that they've bought into, okay, this is what makes us successful. This is what we have to do. That's got to be impressive as a coach too, and show you a little bit of the maturity and leadership that this team has.
Oh yeah. We say youth, but I have 8 seniors again.
Yeah.
So
it's youth from an experience
experience level. Absolutely. But maturity wise, definitely not. And so I think that's what made that transition, so much easier, is that they're willing to do whatever it takes to win. Like, they're gonna, if I told them to stand on their head and spin circles, most of them would probably do it. And so they're just really, really good kids that are willing to sacrifice and do whatever it takes to help their team win. They're not in it for their own personal gain. They don't care necessarily about their stats. They're just out there, hey, like, whatever it takes for us to be successful, let's make it happen. And that's definitely been a great thing for us, and they deserve all the credit in the world for that, because it takes a selfless attitude to be that kind of team player. And they've really, really bought into it and done a good job.
These juniors and seniors were freshmen and sophomores when COVID hit a couple of years ago. Where have you seen that time period of no softball, no doing anything? Where has that maybe shown the most in your eyes?
I think it's shown more in their social life than it has anything, and their school life, their everyday life, more than it has necessarily softball. I haven't really seen just massive differences softball wise. I know emotionally and physically, their days have changed drastically over the last couple years. So to me, the biggest influence has just been in their daily lives and their social lives. Some of them struggle to be social face to face. Some of them are very, very good at it, so I think that comes in any kid's life. But, I think overall, softball wise, a lot of mine continued to play as much as they could. They definitely missed that year of high school ball, but it was probably more just the experience that they missed than anything. So when we came back in 2021, it was like, hey, let's don't take this for granted. Let's thoroughly enjoy the experience of being able to be around each other and travel on the weekends and go to the beach for Gulf Shore for spring break, and all those things that they love the most, they missed out on. And so I know that they're a lot more appreciative for the time that they have now, which has been awesome too. So
What are your keys now? I mean, what is this team going to really have to focus on, do well now over the next couple of weeks to be at the end and hold up a third straight blue mat?
I think it's just consistency at the plate, being able to make adjustments according to whatever the pitchers are giving us. And this group's biggest problem is that they want to succeed so bad that sometimes it keeps them from it. They get a little too anxious, or they get a little, to where they're trying to do too much instead of just allowing the bells. Instead of just allowing the game to kind of come to them and taking what they're given. Sometimes we have to take a step back and say, hey, like, it's okay if you make a mistake, like, you're good, like, just recover from it and let's move on. So I think the biggest thing will be is, persevering through the innings that don't go great, and responding in those situations, and without, I guess, being a little too anxious or over anxious when it comes to trying to make something happen right then. That'll be our biggest thing. It's just consistency and finding, performance at the plate, and making sure that we're not, buckling to the pressure a little bit, than in certain situations. So, it'll be fun. You don't ever really figure out your team's identity until the last couple of weeks. You spend all this time together, and these next 3 weeks are all that really, when it comes down to it, are all that really matters. And I can remember in 19, I think we had lost like 15 ball games. Didn't win our area, didn't win our regional. And then we went to a state tournament, lost the first ball game, and then won 6 straight, because it's just when you get hot, you get hot. So I think we got to definitely peak and continue to peak at the right moments. That's the biggest thing. Everybody says it's talent, it's whatever. You got to have a little luck too.
Yeah, 100%. You got to have a little bit of luck. Coach, really, really appreciate you taking the time to join me, and I always enjoy talking with you, talking with your group when I get to see them, and wish you guys nothing but luck. It's crazy that we're right here at this point of the year, and the postseason is already here, but really looking forward to seeing how things go for y'all the next couple of weeks.
Gone by so fast, but thank you so much for having me, Caleb. I really, really appreciate it.
Yep, enjoyed it. Have a good one. Good luck.
You too.
That's going to do it for us on today's episode of the AHSAA podcast. I want to thank both Sam Robertson and Carter Johnson for taking the time to join me and talk about their round 1 win and what all kind of went into it. That's a great group of baseball players up there at Oxford. I've gotten to compete against a lot of their guys in the summer coaching travel ball, and they've got a great organization that's right there out of Oxford that does a great job developing players. And then Coach Brooks takes them there at Oxford and develops them even more and makes them into a great baseball team, a great high school baseball team. And you're seeing the results of that right now. I think 32-5 or 33-5. It's one of those two heading into round number 2 here. They'll travel up to Hazel Green, and it's not going to be an easy matchup, but if they're able to get through this, I think that all of a sudden you start looking at Oxford as being one of the favorites to make it out of the North and be representing the North there in 6A and compete for a baseball state championship. And how crazy would that be to, last year, the Super Bowl, Tampa Bay became the first team to ever host the Super Bowl and win it there. And then the Rams did it. And now we move up to Oxford, and Oxford baseball would host the baseball state championships at their place. And it's crazy how all that can kind of work out sometimes, but it's going to be really fun keeping up with them the next couple of weeks and seeing how things go for them. And then I appreciate Coach Burt coming on. I've developed a good relationship with Coach Burt over the last 4 years, which is crazy to think about now since I started doing this. Visiting with her program, talking with her girls. I went right up there after they won it in 2019 and talked with her and her team. And since then, I've been going by, visiting with them, talking with them. And, they've just done such a great job. And as I mentioned in the opener, 7A is going to be tough this year, and it's going to be a lot of fun to keep up with it and see what happens. But, she has a group that has been there, has kind of done that. Even though they hadn't played a ton, there's not a ton of playing experience. They've been there as a group. They know what to expect, and they kind of know the standard that's set for them there as well. And so I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch Hewitt Trussville softball and keep up with them over the next couple of weeks and see how things go. It's going to be a lot of fun just to watch softball in general. I enjoy softball. High school softball here in the state of Alabama is getting better. It's getting deeper every single year. There's more teams every season that's able to be right there competing for a state championship. And it's going to be a lot of fun to keep up with over the next couple of weeks. But that's going to do it for us today. We'll be back again Friday. As I've mentioned before, new episodes every Tuesday, every Friday, Please subscribe on Apple, subscribe on Spotify if you enjoy listening to this. These come out every week. We talk to different people, athletes, coaches, media members, whoever it is. That's who we're talking to, people associated with the AHSAA, and just trying to keep people up to date with what's going on around the whole entire state. So if you enjoy this, send it to other people. Subscribe on Apple, Spotify, subscribe to our R&B YouTube channel. We have multiple stuff that goes on there. Sports Blitz Live, Auburn Blitz. It's an Auburn show that we have every day. That's part of the company I work for. Sports Blitz Live comes on every Tuesday night, Saturday morning from 7 to 9. You can watch those shows. They're on there. We also have our documentaries from the AHSAA that we've done, the Hometown Heroes. So a lot of stuff on our YouTube page. So go and check that out. And again, appreciate all you guys listening and look forward to being back with you on Friday for another episode of the AHSAA podcast.